What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Female Bodybuilding Girls in Gear. I'm your host, Tommy Stiles. Shannon, Seeley with me, coming from Michigan. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We have 4 segments that put out podcasts every week on the Muscle Media Network, so make sure you ring the bell to keep up with all that. Thanks to our sponsor, Kodiak Bodybuilding Apparel, for sponsoring the show. Train hard, die strong. And Facebook group, Muscle Media Network. If you want to talk bodybuilding, talk competing, be around like-minded people who just love the lifestyle in general, go to Facebook, search Muscle Media Network, request approval, you'll get approved and you can take advantage of that. We also, when we do Q&As for the podcast, we pull questions from there first over Instagram, so you have that access as well. Shan, what's going on?
Nothing much. So when we drop this, it'll be a couple weeks post holidays, but T and I recorded this is the week after Christmas, a couple days. We got New Year's coming up this weekend for this. So I thought it'd be a great time to kind of touch base, and we'll kind of talk today a little bit more about the New Year's resolution is, how the gym environment's going to change for a little bit. And also the most common questions I've got asked as a trainer for this past week with an influx of new clients, especially females. So I thought we could dive right in and get into that and kind of get your perspective, as a male coach versus me as a female coach, how your gym kind of varies. And, we've been in the industry for a long time, so we've seen the whole influx and kind of the normal pattern we kind of see at the gym with this giant New Year's resolution thing.
It's a good topic. I mean, it comes around every year, so
it does. And
this is the first episode of the new year by the time this comes out. At the time of recording, it's the eve of New Year's Eve, so it'll be out next Friday. But yeah, New Year's resolutions, what do you got?
You have the mindset, I have the mindset where we don't need January 1st to start us on our new plan, but it's common. We see it all the time. We see it for the lifestyle clients. We see it for people. I'm sure you're getting overloaded. My influx for nutrition clients and personal training is through the roof right now. It's the busy season in the fitness industry because people are picking shows, people are changing their lifestyles, people are ready to get in shape. And I think some of the common things we see is I always have to, and I don't know if you do, I have to start kind of changing my pattern of training just so that way I'm not getting an overly crowded area when I'm training. So I'll change the time I train if I have to, just because kids are off school, people are off work. I mean, the traffic in the gym, I have people waiting in lines for machines. And I think that's a little frustrating. And it's one of those things that for seasoned bodybuilders and seasoned gym goers, it does. I think it's a more stressful time for us than anything. People that are getting their New Year's goals are so excited to come in. People like you and I, where we have our set schedules, it's more stressful because I have to kind of change my schedule around for the next couple months to ensure I'm still getting my quality workouts in and not getting distracted. That's a big thing that I think I'm more stressed. I get more stressed about New Year's only because I'm like, how am I going to get a full training in and get all my, get all the exercise I need in without the heavy traffic. So I don't know if you struggle with that. Like, that's my biggest thing is I have a very high traffic gym for the younger generation. So for me to schedule a good, 90-minute workout session, I have to very plan strategically.
Yeah, I mean, it will be busier for sure because the students are coming back from Christmas break. My gym's like in the heart of a college campus, but that type of traffic is kind of normal for my gym normally. So I've been spoiled lately because it's been a dead zone, but it'll just pick up to where it's normally going to be once New Year's rolls in. It honestly doesn't bother me because I'm so used to the gym being busy. I mean, the worst time is probably, which is in most gyms, is going to be the afternoon, like 4 to 8. I don't train in that time. I'm not a personal trainer anymore. So I'm not, if I was when I was personal training, I'll make up the workout on the fly based off what's available to, keep my client in the time limit. But for myself, like, my training partner and I, we have a very set, strict program. He's in prep. So if it means we wait a little bit for machines, that's something we're used to. So it honestly doesn't bother me too much this time of year. I expect it. I'm actually very, positive about it. I think people joining the gym is a good thing. Like anything, I think it's just you just do it respectfully, and it's not an issue. It's the people that come in and are blatantly disrespectful to the hierarchy of the gym, or even the just how the gym culture and gym flow goes. Those people are the ones that kind of get on my nerves. But try to lead from the front, set a good example, and hope
Yeah.
everybody follows suit.
Yeah, I agree. One of the biggest things, and I like to kindly remind everyone because I work in a gym all the time. I'm a personal trainer. Free rack your damn weights, please. Okay, that's the biggest thing. I've just, you know how many weights? I think I had an extra 2 workouts this week just re-racking weights. It just drives me nuts. And I will purposely, like if I'm at my gym and someone doesn't, I will ask them politely if they don't, and if not, I will just angrily just unrack them and stare at them and make eye contact the entire time. That's my biggest pet peeve, especially when you're going back when you're in a new gym. Like it does set the stage for how people are going to respect you, or either people are going to think you're a giant douche. Like I would say, it's not that hard. Just like that shopping cart analogy that you used all the time. Like it takes 5 seconds. It just shows the kind of person you are. Put it back. But it's good. Like I said, like it's one of those things. You said the same thing. Like we've been in the industry for a long time. It's very common. The biggest thing is I always am encouraging to the new members, as you know, other people should be too, because everyone's trying to make a lifestyle change. Realistically, we'll see 90% of them drop out by May and April. So it's kind of, or May and June. It's one of those things you just kind of get through it. Just focus on yourself, focus on your goals, and it's one of those things that any environment, as a person who's driven with your body, your goals, you shouldn't let any environment really create any external factors that are going to derail you from your progress. So I want to dive into, so I had a lot of newcomers come and see me this week, just to, with the training, people are starting to book with me. But I wanted to kind of dive in. I had a lot of females that I talked to this week, and I kind of put a little list together of some of the most common questions that I got asked. And these are just newcomers coming into the gym. And I will say that the 2 biggest questions that I got asked is, how do I get a bigger butt? And how do I get abs? Okay. And that's very, very common. I'll say for most females that want to go into the gym, I see that as those are the top 2 goals that people want to have. They want to have abs. And most women want to have a nice bubble butt. And that's going to come down to, so I guess I'll start with the butt. That's a muscle group. We've talked about this before. That's going to come with the squats. That's going to come with the overtime, the heavy training. You're not going to get an ass from doing, hip thrusters with a booty band every day. You can use them as accessory movements, but you're going to have to eat and you're going to have to train heavy in order to just build that muscle. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen with lots of consistency, lots of solid training, lots of proper form, and ensuring that you're activating those proper muscles. And it's going to come with your genetic background too. If you come with somebody who has a lot more thicker legs and a heavier bottom build, you're probably going to be a little bit more blessed to be able to grow that a little bit more quickly than somebody who has genetics where they're having a hard time putting on weight. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, because I see that all the time with women. They just want those bubble butts.
Yeah, glutes are a trending theme in the world today. I think it's like any other muscle, progressive overload. You have to, everything boils down to consistency and discipline. The movement selection, I think everyone wants to do the banded stuff and the kickbacks, and you can build a nice foundation with glutes, with just squats, hip thrusts, and then some variations of different abduction movements and cable kickbacks, glute kickback movements. Outside of that, some lunges can go a long way as well, but the glute development is not rocket science. Take where you're at, try to get stronger from that point with the core movements for 6 months, progressively overload your food during that time, and I bet you'll have a bigger butt to show for it. So when I was a trainer, I can say I never had girls putting bands around their, like, it's just not something I used. If you're doing it to like warm up, get the glutes firing, that's fine. But the idea that you need to put a band around your knees for every single thing you do, it's just a lot of trainers use it as like FOMO, like let me put this band around, like, to make you think you're missing out if you don't use a band, when really that's not even what they're used for. So learning how to do movements that develop the glutes properly and then getting stronger at them, that's your best bet to building the butt that you want. And then you said about something about abs, like the common misconception with abs is that people think they're made in the kitchen, which they're made by training them. They're a muscle. Everybody has abs, but the degree of how much ab development you have is based off how you train them. So you have to train them. A lot of people skip abs because they say they're going to do it at the end of the workout. End of the workout comes, they just leave and say, I'll get it next time. I've been guilty of doing that before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been pretty fortunate. I've had abs since I was 12. They don't go away. So when they say abs are made in the kitchen, it's more of abs are just sharpened in the kitchen because you drop body fat based off whatever program you're following, or what your goal is. But you don't make your abs by what you eat. You lose body fat, which a lot of people store fat in the midsection. So that's the idea there, is like you're just uncovering them, but you're not making them. You make them by training them. So, my thing about abs is train them at the first, put them at the start of your workout, 3 to 4 sets, pick a few movements that you like that you can be consistent with. That way you're never skipping them. You're training them hard like you should any other muscle group. And then if there's a diet in place because you're trying to, lose body fat, have sharper abs, whatever the case is, that will go into effect, and the abs will come out as body fat drops, but they're made by training them.
Now, T, how often would you, I think we might have varying opinions on this, because I have clients that like to train them every day, and then I have clients that I have trained them, 3 times a week. What would you recommend for your ab training? And then I'll tell you how I recommend my ab training.
I do it 3 to 4 times a week. Personally, and that's what I tell clients. I think I like to start the workout with it too, because a lot of movements involve core stability and being able to brace your core. And if you're starting with abs, you're getting that process firing neurologically. So it helps me with a lot of movements if I train my abs few sets to start the workout. Actually, I've done it every day. I've done it every other day. I've done everything. I don't think you can go wrong with abs, honestly, as long as you're training them hard and progressively. I think people are scared of weights with abs because it won't give you a blocky waist. The abs are a muscle. To make them denser, you need to overload them somehow. Just laying on the floor and doing crunches, yeah, it can be effective, but it's not necessarily going to build a thick, dense abdominal wall when we're talking bodybuilding. So rule of thumb for me, I think train your abs hard 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's kind of what I suggest to people. I always say give at least some time to recover for your abs. Now, when I'm in prep, when I get to about like 8 weeks out, my coach just have me throw them in about 10 minutes every day, which is fair just because of such a severe deficit. Another thing too to point out with your abs is, now I know too, when I'm in prep, especially like I do take Clen for my cutting protocol when I'm prep, and I do take taurine to help with the cramps. But when I train abs, when I'm like 6 to 8 weeks out, the cramping from the ab training is so horrendous for me that I do have to train them every day very minimally. Like my time to train abs when I'm in prep 6 to 8 weeks out, I can only train them for about 5 to 7 minutes before the cramping from taking the Clen is so extreme that I have to kind of stop with that. And no dose of taurine for me will help subside those cramps. So I know that's one of my personal struggles. I've tried everything to stop with Clen cramps, but it just happens depending on how lean you are. But when I'm in off season, I do tell people 3 to 4 times a week, give it a good 10 to 15 minutes. I do like progressive overload. I mean, I'm training till failure. I'll do 4 sets of 25 for everything. I think I discussed this before. Like, I don't recommend, like, for someone like myself or some competitor who's trying to keep that snatch waist, I don't do a ton of like weighted ab movements. I'll do a lot more body weight movements and just kind of just blow that muscle out as much as possible just through higher reps. That's not for everybody. For me though, I have a very good base foundation with my abs and I don't want them to get overly bulky. So for me to maintain the size and keep the shape and density, it's just more for me, a lot of reps and sets for my abs. So
Yeah, no, there's a million ways to skin a cat when it comes to training. I've done high rep ab movements or ab exercises with body weight, hanging leg raises or something I was doing for a long time. So I think it's just finding a few movements to get consistent with. Honestly, there's ab training isn't like glutes. It's not rocket science. It's a pretty
yeah,
simple process physiologically if you understand how to train. Key is just doing it like anything. It's consistency. I know for a fact that abs and calves are two things that a lot of people just skip because it's at the end of the workout and
yeah,
it's easier to leave than do it. And tell yourself I'll do it next time. And then you don't do it next time, and it just becomes a habit that you don't ever do it.
yeah.
Um, the body fat thing that is nutrition related, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's a muscle that needs to be trained, and your core translates to a lot of different things in the gym, also in life too. If you have a weak core, it's gonna affect you in other areas too. So I think there's a lot of benefits to core training. Even outside of just ab crunches, I have clients do planks, side planks. I think ab wheel has a lot of use to train the core as
Mhm.
well. Like core strength and stability is a big thing that translates into movements and lifestyle things as well.
Yeah, that's huge. Even like, and most predominantly when you are using any free weight movements, when you are standing, for squats, even if you're doing standing bicep curls, anything, you have to engage your core to keep your balance and stabilization. So keep that in mind, because it is possible, just like any other muscle, you can't overtrain your abs to the point too. So be mindful when you are doing heavier movements. Like, I know I don't typically train abs on my heavy leg days because I've already used so much of my core engagement when I'm doing my heavy squats or anything like that. So make sure that you plan accordingly and allow your abs also to recover, because I do see people times, it's not, I don't, I've done it before. I've seen people do it, but if you are training very heavy your abs, you shouldn't really train them 6 or 7 days a week. They're just like any other muscle group. You need to allow them time to recover, because if you're just training them every day and you're not allowing recovery, how are you going to get stronger and allow those fibers to recover? So keep that in mind. It's not bad depending on how you're training them, but in my experience, especially when you're trying to put on some ab density, 3 to 4 times a week at heavier training volume with your abs is probably more beneficial for you than doing a 10-minute light movements every day. Um, this is a one. So this is going to be a very generalized depending on you and I and our client ages and everything, but I got asked quite a bit. How many sets and reps should you do for each exercise? Um, this is a very generalized question because it's depending, obviously, me bodybuilding, and I know probably you the same way. I do 3 to 4 working or warm-up sets before I get into my working sets. I only do about 2 to 3 working sets of my actual workout, but for the actual exercise itself, that's probably 8 to 9 sets total, because my warm-up sets, I spend a lot of time on my warm-up sets in order to really push my working sets to the best intensity I can. And some people, like I've done clients where I've had them do that depending on their goals. Some of my lifestyle clients and my geriatric clients, I have them do one warm-up set and then they're just going to do their sets and reps based on what they're trying to. Usually it's 3 to 5 sets of their reps, depending on their goals, depending on their age, depending on what they're trying to do. So this is a very generalized question, depending on, I guess, your goals. Are you rehabbing from physical therapy? Are you trying to put on muscle? It's going to kind of depend on how you train, how warmed up your muscles are, and overall like what you're trying to achieve. So, because I know someone like me or you're probably doing just as many warm-up sets as I am just to get into those good working sets. I know Michaela Aycock, what does she do? 2 working sets. I mean, she's a beast. She does 2 intense working sets for her workouts all the time, and that works phenomenally for her. So you got to kind of find your niche for that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, volume is going to be very inter-individual dependent, but I think a good, for the most part, I would say pretty much 85 to 90% of my exercises are 2 sets.
Mhm.
One set being a specific rep range, second set being maybe a higher rep range, adjusting the weight loads that I use to fit in that rep range. Honestly, it's just to figure that question out. Honestly, it just takes time doing something to figure out what you need for volume. maybe you're doing too much volume and you're not recovering. You need to lower your volume. Maybe you feel that you could do more. The biggest thing that matters more to me with myself and clients is intensity. I'm training to failure or beyond. That's how I've always trained. There's a lot of literature out there that, the latest says you could do 52 sets a week for a muscle group. I think that's not how I approach things, but if someone wants to try that, that's on them. I also don't think a lot of normal people have time to train 52 sets per week. So my idea of a working set is it's going to be quality. If it's not something that can help me grow, meaning it's a new stimulus, then it would classify as like a warm-up or a feeder set. The amount of those I do, again, it's just something you're going to learn over time with your body. My legs, I need more warm-up and feeders getting up to my working weight than I do with like my back. Chest, same thing. I need to slow climb it all the way up to get to my working weight. And that's more of just a mental thing. Shoulders, I mean, I can shoulder press pretty well, and it's just something that happened. Like laterals, anything with shoulders, it just clicks for me. There's no, like, I don't even really need a warm up. I'll always do at least one of something just to like get the movement pattern firing. But rule of thumb, I think, is just try a base set of volume across the week and stick with that for like 4 weeks minimum before you make a decision. The biggest thing to figure out what volume you need is going to be consistency. If you're not even consistent going to the gym, how are you going to know how little or how much you need as far as working sets? So that, and then make sure you know how to execute one set, taking it to or at or near failure. Without that, the volume doesn't matter. You're probably going to think you need a lot more volume if you're not training with enough intensity each set. I've done low volume for many blocks in my life and gotten results. So more is not better if the quality is down.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, and I guess it absolutely does depend on the degree of the intensity and what your goal is trying to achieve, your time management. There's lots of stuff, for newcomers coming to the gym. My biggest advice to you, if you're just getting back into it, is first set a realistic goal of how many times a week that you are going to make yourself come to the gym. I have people that I see are brand new gym comers and they say I'm coming 6 days a week. But you came from going nowhere to 6. Realistically, 90% of them are going to fail. So I say set realistic goals. Usually 3 times a week. Make yourself come in 3 times a week. Build that habit up. Then then you can structure more in. But if you overwhelm yourself with going full on 6-7 days a week to the gym, trying to go full on, doing a hardcore diet, a bulk or cut, you pretty much typically set yourself up for failure if you're just going 0 to 100 real quick. It's kind of one of those, you have to kind of delve into this lifestyle and build habits up and then create a routine. Another thing I always say is, T and I just discussed warm-up sets. Some of you that are listening that might be newer might be confused at what warm-up sets are versus warming up. So warm-up sets typically are very lightweight, lower volume reps and sets you're going to do of the exercise you're trying to burn out. Basically, my terminology is a little off today, but for instance, if you're doing bench press, usually like I'll start with the bar. I'll just do 1 or 2 sets of just the weight, just the bar, just to get going, get everything, muscles primed, the joints, the mobility, kind of get a little bit of movement in there, lighten, add a little bit of lightweight, do a little bit more sets there. You're basically working up to the weight that you are going to be working for intensity with your 6 to 8 rep range or however you're trying to work up to. But it's not beneficial for you to just jump on a bench press. Hey, I'm going to max out 315, throw 315 on. Number one, you're going to injure yourself. Number two, your body's not primed for that. So when we say these warm-up sets are leading into working sets, basically you're priming your body to hit the intensity of the working sets. And previously for me, when I go into my working sets, when I first get to the gym before anything, I go walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. That's what I do. I don't count it as my cardio. That just gets my mental space right. I kind of just get myself prepared for the gym. 5 minutes, just get everything warmed up. Then I go into my workout. When I tell people, and this is very common lately, and this is something that if you can't remember anything else today, remember this. when I tell people to warm up before their sessions, I want you doing cardio. I don't want to see you come in from the gym. And I'm in Michigan, so right now it's cold here. I don't want you to see you walk in from the parking lot and just all of a sudden go and start stretching your muscles. That's a big thing. For some reason, I see it's becoming a trend to stretch muscles right when you get in the gym, but you're not warm. Your muscles aren't warm. So think of a rubber band that has not been warmed up, that's been in the freezer, and you pull it, it's going to snap in half. I use that analogy with muscles. Like your muscles they're not going to be super pliable when you first come to the gym. You need to walk, you need to warm up. Personally, I stretch intra workout or after my workout. I never stretch before. I don't know where that trend came from, but there's really, unless you're warm, there's no benefit to stretching a cold muscle. And I don't know if you see that, but it's one of my biggest things. It sets you up for injury if you're stretching a cold muscle. It really does.
Yeah, I think dynamic stretching, that's more of what I do before
Yeah.
training is active range of motion, joint work, stuff like that. But
Yeah,
so,
but like static, you're not gonna
yeah,
stretch a static cold muscle.
no, I don't do static stretches. I don't even usually have the ability to do it. My thing is just to get my body moving.
Mhm.
Uh, body weight squats, some 90s on the floor, stretching my hips and glutes and low back out. An adductor stretch, like that frog stretch where you open it's just, I sit a lot for work. I sit for podcasts. I'm not terribly active other than dog walks. So for me, getting in the gym the first 20 minutes is just getting the body moving, getting things
Yeah.
tuned up. When I was younger, yeah, I could walk in and I could get under a squat bar right away. But now it's to have the confidence to train at the intensity I need. I need that 20-minute window of time with myself. You also need it from a mental standpoint. I think a lot of people come into the gym bringing in whatever's going on in life to the gym. You need, a little buffer time to disengage and detach from that. Don't show up to the gym on a phone call and then try to get, mentally you're not cued in. The mind leads the body. The body is only going to go where the mind takes it. So if your mind's all over the place, or you're with your problems, which are out of the gym at the time, then that's going to translate to your workout, and it's not going to be a quality workout. Your training requires focus and intent. You do that with your mind. Yeah, same stretching. I would put intra workout or post workout as far as static stretching or loaded stretching. I think dynamic movements and just some things to get the body moving and get your brain wired and firing as far as what the movement patterns are going to be for the day. That's done before. Even if it's only 10 minutes, that's something, again, that's going to be catered to you over time based off what you need. Mine's always evolving. If it's an upper body day, I'm doing shoulder broomstick dislocations, over and backs,
Yeah.
working out my forearms, my wrists, just anything I feel I need to put myself, when you're in a cold atmosphere, you start your car and let it warm up to get everything, under the hood. Having oil and all the fluids moving to it. That's the same thing with your body. Don't train cold. Get everything moving, get your mind right, get tuned in and focused on what you're going to do, and then go have a good session.
Yeah, I'm sure too. Like you develop over time, like your pre-workout routine. And I know you say I get just as excited. I get excited for every body part but arms. I really gotta pump myself up to train arms at the gym. I hate arms, but I have my same thing. Like I'm in my car, I have my pre-workout music. I have the same routine. I come in, everything is very set routine, and I get excited. Like it's almost like I'm not nervous, but it's like I'm so excited to start working out and lifting that it's like it's one of those things. It's like a kid at Christmas. And obviously I don't have that all the time. It's not common to have it all the time, but it makes training a hell of a lot easier when you are in that state. And I get like that more for my off season. Like I'm deep in my off season right now, so I can lift a little bit heavier weight. So for me to just see that progress just gets me more excited to see the development every week. So yeah, everyone has their little routine and stuff. And I think it makes it fun. Like make it fun and enjoyable for yourself. Like, hey, like if it's something like, hey, I like to blast out my favorite song in the car, do it before your workout, whatever's going to kind of get you moving. Because you should be kind of laser focused, especially in the sport, like laser focused when you're in. You shouldn't be like, I hate talking to people at the gym. I put my headphones on and I'm just there to work. My phone's on do not disturb, and it's just one thing after the other. If you do struggle with like people bothering you at the gym, I'll wear headphones and I'll just pretend like I can't hear anyone. Even if my headphones will die sometimes, and I just keep them on, and I'm like, nobody bother me. Like, and that's my thing. I don't like talking to people when I train. And that's why I don't really typically like to train with a partner, unless like for someone like you have a very dedicated partner that you guys respect each other's boundaries. But I've had horrible training partners where all they want to do is talk about their life issues. And for me, that's not what I want to do in the gym. That's you're there to train, you're there to push yourself. I don't want to be a psychologist at the gym right now. I just want to get the work done, you know. So make sure that your training partner and you are on like the same page with that, because that can actually be discouraging and actually put it can actually derail people's progress if you can't get each other motivated. And I've had people that are like, I used to train with my partner, but all they did was talk about their problems, and I didn't want to hear that at the gym because it just stressed me out. So make sure that you're setting yourself up with the right environment and the right people that are going to push you towards your goals. If you have a friend that you're close with, but they don't kind of coincide with your training, don't train with them. It's the simplest thing. It's like you have to be selfish and make sure that you are putting in 100% effort in your training. What was the other one? Okay, so I'm reading a list here of all the extra other questions I got. I have been training regularly, and I've been noticing I'm getting stronger, but I'm not putting on any more size. So this was from a female. And this is very typical, and she's a little bit younger. So I will say a lot of the younger generation is really, and I'm not bashing you guys by any means. It's one of those that you guys still struggle with patience and consistency. It's almost like if you've been at the gym for 6 months and you expect to have 16-inch biceps, you should want them to grow 4 inches. And I know T and I have discussed this previously. Nutrition goes hand in hand. Like, especially when you're younger, you're gonna have to eat a lot more because your metabolisms are on fire. I mean, you guys can down pizzas and lose 5 pounds overnight. So it's one of those things is if you are not catering your food intake with your training, yeah, you can put on a little bit of strength with that if you're training properly, but you're not going to be able to put on the sides if you're not eating enough to fuel that calorie surplus and that muscle building. Like, it's not possible. And we've talked about this before. You have to make sure you're eating enough carbs, you have to make sure you're eating enough protein, you're giving adequate recovery. But I would say to even for younger people, I would say realistically, don't expect more than like a pound and a half muscle gain every month. I mean, it's just going to depend on the person. But if you say, hey, I've been training for 6 months and I put on 60 pounds of muscle, I'm going to look at you and laugh. Like, that's not possible. So it's one of those things you have to really understand that building muscle when you're natural, when you're using food as fuel, when you're just getting into the gym, it's going to take a long time. I mean, what did they just say? I just saw this podcast where Nick Walker was one of the people who put on the fastest muscle in a year, and it still was, I think it was like 25 pounds. It's not one of those things. So think of the realistic, like in a 12-month period, 25 pounds, that's what, 2.5 pounds of muscle a month. Like, that's impressive, but we're talking about the top of the top Olympia guys here. So if you're looking at the 25-pound muscle gain he put on a year, and you're trying to put on 60 pounds in a year, it's not feasible. So make sure you're setting up realistic goals that are actually possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put a number on it, honestly, because
No, yeah,
you don't need to know the amount of muscle you put on. You need to see it based off visuals. Obviously, if there's competition as a part of the goal, then those goals come into play, and you need to be adding size in the right areas in the right way for your division, whatever that is. But I think for the question, if she's getting stronger and not noticing size, a lot of it, yeah, patience, but also audit your training. Are you just adding weight frivolously and letting form go to the wayside? Are you training the muscle, or are you training the movement? When we talk about hypertrophy, it's not all about weight. A lot of my clients, they send me videos, and more often than not, I have to critique them on intensity, but also on the load they're using, because the form they're using is not a range of motion that's going to help with growing. If I'm trying to grow a big chest, but I'm stopping all of my reps before I even get a stretch on the chest, my chest isn't going to grow. My front delts will, but I'm not growing my chest. Same thing with my biceps. If I'm only training half range of motion, I'm only getting, half the muscle fibers activated. So I think auditing your training is a big thing too. If you don't feel that you have the size gains, strength doesn't equal muscle gain. If that were true, all the power lifters and strongmen would be jacked. and they're big. Usually they have big frames, but they don't have the muscular density in certain body parts that you'll see on like a bodybuilder who's not nearly as strong as a lot of those movements. Bodybuilding and adding muscle to where you want it is the mind leads the body, like I just previously said. So you have to train with a tempo that's putting enough tension on the muscle. You have to train with a range of motion that's training the muscle fully, end range or start range to end range. All of that's probably best achieved working with a coach. Honestly, if you're someone who doesn't feel like you're getting the results you want, work with a coach. I think the amount of people trying to self-coach or do this on their own and who are just spinning their tires is wild to me. My progress shot up drastically the first time I hired a coach. And I've had coaches for 10 years now. And I have mentors in my business. I have life mentors that I reach out to for other, like, coaching is more than just you pay someone for a result. It's guidance. So that question that you have, you could be asking a coach. Maybe you are, maybe she's your client, but I'm just speaking in general to everyone listening. If these are questions you're having, these are questions that of people that need to hire a coach or work with a personal trainer. If it's, training related to down to technique, you just need to learn. So then you can take what you learn and apply it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And, going back to the form question, I mean, I'm doing this podcast in my gym and I have an open window here and I can see 6 people in front of me that are definitely lifting a lot more than they should with their form. And that's one of the things is, and people, I guess, why don't you say something? I bite my tongue now. I've been in the industry a long time. You'll learn, like, if you're in the industry, like, some people don't want to hear your advice. They're either going to come to you and look for advice or they're going to train themselves. But in order to really dial in and get the results you want, again, we've discussed this probably in 3 different podcasts now. Your form is everything. Your form is so, so, so important. And it's not impressive to me to have a bodybuilder say, hey, I can shrug 300 pounds or I can bench 1 rep max at 315, but you can't keep your butt on the ground or on the bench and lift properly. Like, someone's form is so much more impressive to me than seeing how much they can lift. I'll see something like, wow, look at her form. Like, it is amazing. Like, that's one thing. I'm a stickler for form, and we all should be. Just keep that in mind, especially if you're newer in the gym. If you reach out to, I think people get really scared when they join a gym. And I'm telling you guys from perspective, I've worked in a gym for 10 years now. I love when people come up and say, hey, can you help me with my form? If I'm not doing anything with a client, I gladly will. Most people, if you are unsure of something, you are in a gym and you can see somebody with a trainer or somebody who's knowledgeable, ask them. 9 times out of 10, they're really going to just say, hey, sure, I'll tell you what you should do differently, because it's better for you to ask instead of trying to just figure it out yourself and then end up injuring yourself or training incorrectly. So especially with with people coming in the gym now, all these New Year's resolutionists, be mindful, because we were all in the gym new at one time, and there's going to be people that may be standing on stage with you one day down the line that started this year with their journey. So just keep that in mind, because like we said in the beginning, 90% of them will be out of the gym by April, May. But the ones that have stuck around obviously are dedicated, and they're going to probably become your new gym bro. So just keep that in mind with that. We don't need to be dicks. It's going to really show a lot about your mental character with how you just show empathy and compassion for the newcomers, and just be a little bit more welcome. And that comes with maturity and age too. I remember being 20 and not being accepting of anybody in the gym, and now in my 30s, I'm like, come on in, let's all go, let's all work out together. So
Very family oriented.
I get this question asked a lot, and this question for me in particular, especially when I'm coaching people, varies depending on your schedule. If you're a competitor, is cardio better before or after weights? T, let's get your input on this.
I tell my clients never do it before. Like a warm up, if you're going to walk for 5 minutes or ride on the bike's fine, but I don't see any benefit in exerting energy like that before. Because cardio to me is getting your heart rate elevated to a certain range to, achieve something more than just movement. If we're just moving, like, yeah, I'll give you a step count or other activity, your NEAT plays in or comes into play, but cardio, I can't imagine doing 20 minutes on the stairs and then going to train legs and feeling my best. Whereas, a couple minutes on the stairs just to get things moving, get some blood flowing, get I sit, like I said, I sit all day. So get some sort of movement in. That's fine. But your cardio session should be post-workout if you have an option. It could be any time of the day, honestly. It doesn't even have to be attached to the workout window. But if you're someone who's trying to conserve time and you only can get to the gym once a day, you don't have at-home cardio, whatever the case is, just do it after the workout, never before.
Yeah. I would say pretty much after an off season, I cardio. I do have to do fasted 2 times a week right now in my off season, but then all the rest of my cardio is done post workout. And then when I'm in prep, it's pretty much all fasted first thing in the morning, but that's separate from my training. Like I do my fasted and then I don't work out till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then if I have to do more cardio, I'll do it after. So there's a whole separate entity there. Because I do see people that'll do their fasted cardio and then they'll do fasted training. I don't really ever condone fasted training. It's becoming a trend right now, and I'm not sure why. But if you're really trying to conserve and put on mass, I don't see a reason why you would be training fasted because your body literally has nothing to fuel it for the workouts. So if you are training fasted and you're trying to go for strength gain or muscle gain, you probably should put some food in your body before you train. There's not really a benefit for fasted training on top of doing fasted cardio. Think if you're doing fasted cardio and fasted training all in the morning before you eat, the amount of calories that you have just burned that you're going to have to eat just to make up for that, and then also eat the additional calories that allow your body to function throughout the day, that's going to be a lot. And it also, I feel like that just throws off your metabolism for the day too, because now it's just extra starving the whole day. So be mindful of that with training too. I don't know. I don't see a reason, and I don't know if you have a reason for it, but I don't see a benefit to fasted training. I see the benefit for fasted cardio because we see it a lot with the competitors, but fasted training, I don't see a reason that you would need fasted training, especially when you're a competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I typically don't. I will never tell someone to train fasted. But I have people that do.
Yeah.
The way we might do that is budget the nighttime meal to be heavier, knowing that they're training early and they're training fasted, and then have an intra workout because things like branched chain amino acids and EAAs as well they're going to break that fast. You could also put carbs in that drink too, depending on the person, what their context is. So it can be done, but I do think there's actually research that says fasted training is actually not beneficial for muscle growth. I'm not a big study guy. I don't let that make my decisions, but me personally, I don't do well with it. I've tried it when I tried to train early, and it just doesn't work for me. My big thing is hydration too. It's not about food as much as like you need to get the muscles hydrated, the body hydrated. You see me drinking water on every podcast. Like I put down a lot of 2 times a day. So I would need to chug like half of a gallon to get my day going to feel at peace with myself in training movements and not feel like I'm going to rip something off the bone. So, again, it's going to come down to your schedule. If you're someone who's a lifestyle client, you have no desire to compete, and gym consistency is the thing that you struggle with, and fast is the time that you can consistently get to the gym, then do that. Try to structure your nutrition to where it's accommodating for that. I do think anybody, no matter what time you get up, you can get up and potentially have some whey isolate, cream of rice, maybe some almond butter, a combination like that. Even if you just have some fruit and a protein shake, you're breaking the fast that way. I mean, I really don't think you have to put down something heavy in like a big gourmet meal in the morning. Even 4 or 5 a.m. I've had clients get up and make meal one. If it's important to you and that's the only training window time you have, get up a half hour earlier, just have something to eat or have something ready from the night before. And all you have to do is pop it in the microwave or eat it cold.
Yeah. And I do. Do you do glucose monitoring? Do you do your blood? Do you check your blood?
Do I personally?
Yeah.
Check it a couple times a week. Yeah.
Okay. sorry, I'm like kind of ranting off topic here, but that was another reason with like, I have pretty low blood sugar in the morning. I mean, I've been on this trend now. My coach just got me on it because some of my blood work came back a little bit weird. So I've been monitoring my blood sugar, and it's pretty low in the morning, which is common because it's lower because you're just waking up and then you're going to get that surge of glycogen. But seeing that and then seeing if you are training fasted, that's just going to put it in. You aren't adding any extra calories. You're not doing pre-workout, nothing. And you're trying to train like that. I mean, that's going to just spin you into like a blood pressure drop, and you're going to probably pass out at the gym too. Like if that's one of those things too, is like if your blood sugar is not in check and you're not familiar with where you're at and you're trying to train fasted with nothing in you, it's potential that you can just make yourself pass out too. So it's more, especially with the amount of weight that you and I are pushing like that. If our blood sugar is low and we have nothing in them, it's not going to be a pretty sight. So
Yeah, no, I think for bodybuilding purposes, I'd never set someone up to train fasted. Again, if it's a schedule thing, I'll work with them to put a meal in. I don't let people go to the gym not eating. So if your goal is bodybuilding, then you need to make time to eat a meal before you train. Again, it's not hard. I just listed a few quick options that can be done in seconds. Meals take less than 5 minutes to eat. So, you don't have to sit down and have chicken and rice at 4 a.m. or whatever time you're getting up, but it is possible. Egg whites cook really quick. Oatmeal goes down really quick. Cream of rice. You could always have fruit to work out. There's a lot of different ways to get food in or get substance in before you go train. Again, it's going to come down to if that's the only time window you have, then adjust for that. Get up earlier. But it's all context dependent. It's going to be individual dependent. There are people, the thing that you need to know if you're listening to this and you do have to train fasted is there are people that train fasted and make it work. So there's a way, you just have to be willing to do whatever it takes. For if you have the luxury of picking when you train, like I do and you do, I train at 11:30, 2 meals, lots of water. I mean, almost sometimes like a gallon of water before I even go to the gym. So lots of sodium. Sodium is going to help with pumps. That's my preferred time, and bodybuilding is part of my career. So that's what but in prep, I'll train after 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals. There's kind of no rules in prep based off how I feel. But in the off season with I need consistency with my meal times because of the amount of food I need to eat. It's 2 meals. I train at 11:30, or it's 1 meal and I'll backload the rest of my food post workout. But at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you and fits into your lifestyle.
Yeah. And that is a huge thing too, is I'm glad you said that, because I'm so sick of hearing people say, oh, I don't eat past 5 o'clock or I don't eat past 6 o'clock. When you're a bodybuilder, it doesn't matter. I know guys that set their alarms and wake up at 2 a.m. and eat their meals. I don't know where this weird thing is, hey, I got to stop eating at 6 or blah, blah. No, like your body doesn't care. Like for me, I know I've eaten my last meal, usually even when I'm in prep right now, is usually 11:30 at night. And then I eat, and I don't have my body. I've been doing that for so long. I don't have digestive issues. I don't have issues with that. I sleep from 11:30. I usually get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Get up, and then I don't even eat my first meal. I'll do my fasted and stuff. It's usually, if I get up at 8 o'clock, I don't even have my first meal till 10 o'clock because I'm doing my fasted, I'm doing my progress picks, all that stuff. So there isn't a set time for that. People are shocked. You don't eat at 6 a.m. I'm not a morning person. I hate getting up. I like sleep. I'll sleep until 10 hours if I have to. That's my biggest thing I've told people that's really helped me grow in this industry is sleeping. The lack of sleep. I was, when I was younger, it was go, 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 4 or 5 hours of sleep. The minute I switched to getting 6 or more hours, my body and my lifestyle changed completely. Like my body recovery, everything. I mean, people preach, this fast lifestyle, like, oh, you'll sleep when you're dead and all that. No, like for bodybuilding, sleep is so important. So like when you're getting your meals in and then you're getting that, you need a lot that time for your food to digest, your body to recover. I mean, you're only getting 3 hours of sleep and you train really hard and you ate 8 meals the day before. That does not give you adequate time for your food to digest, your body to recover, your cortisol levels to come down. You're just stressing the shit out of your body. So keep all that stuff in mind. There's not going to be a set thing that says, hey, I have to eat this time, this time, this time. What's going to work for you is not always going to work for somebody else. And that's just going to come with time, maturation, learning how your body responds to your program.
I like it. Yep. It's all consistency and running your own race, keep the blinders on. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, leave comments down below. We've got some guests coming on, I believe, the next couple weeks. So I'm pretty excited for that. Anybody you guys want to see us try to get, let us know. No promises. Sometimes people don't hit you back, or it's just tough to match schedules and time zones, but we're going to keep rolling them out every Friday. So for Shannon, Seeley, I'm Tommy Stiles. This has been Female Bodybuilding Girls in Gear. We're out of here.